Bum, 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 bum. Welcome back, my friends, to BjjBrick Quick. Talking about jiu-jitsu today. That's nothing unusual. That's what we do here. About 5 minutes, give or take. It's about how long most people roll for with a partner. Today we're talking about pressure to the rib cage. People talk about pressure. And you can apply pressure a few different places, but if you're going to just squeeze my calf and pressure my calf, I can care less. I'm not even a tough guy. I just don't care about that pressure. It doesn't bother me. Maybe my foot goes numb after a while. Where's a good place to apply some pressure? The rib cage. Now, I don't like my rib cage pressured. I have, I don't know if you call it a broken rib or dislocated rib, or right now. I've had this for a long time. I'm protective of it. I've developed parts of my game that really help me avoid pressure to my rib cage. But you could really take someone's breath away, like the song "Take My Breath Away." Make it hard to breathe. If someone's kind of shelled up, you pass their guard, and they're locking up tight. Can't get anything going. Can't get to their neck. Can't get to their arms. Can't upgrade your position from side control to mount. Maybe they're not doing anything. Start putting some pressure on them. I like that pressure on the rib cage from side control. I'm going to describe this, like I said, like on these podcasts, I really don't have notes. I have here's my notes. Pressure to the rib cage. That's it. We'll see where it goes. So I decide on a whim, I'm going to describe this a little bit. Maybe it translates, maybe it doesn't. I realize this is just an audio podcast. But I like to, when I get side control, kind of turn my hips a little bit and face towards their head. And then I like to find their floating ribs if I want to do pressure. And I don't do this in a bully way. I'm doing this to people who are generally bigger than me and who are competent grapplers. I wouldn't do this to somebody who's new because it's a little bit rough. But side control, face their head a little bit, so then you have my ribs on their ribs, and I kind of move down a little bit usually. You could be up, depends on where you're at, to where I'm on their floating ribs. So that's like the bottom, and I don't know, maybe bottom 3 or 4 ribs. They move a little bit more. They're not as attached. They're flexible, those things. And I will put my ribs on their floating ribs. Then with my foot, I'm going to just kind of push into them. I'm going to just kind of move my body, my ribs into their rib, floating ribs there. Okay, that's cool. Then on my other side is my elbow. Because remember, I turned up, so if I'm on their, and I hate doing all this technical stuff. If I'm on their right side, it's going to be my right elbow is over on their far side. Maybe my left hand's doing something with their neck or whatever. Take my right elbow, I put it right in their floating ribs. I put it on the ground. Then I'm going to squeeze. So I have kind of an anchor or backstop. And I might even just pinch my elbow in further, bring it closer to my hip, and really compress their floating ribs. Just squeezing them, and you'll feel them move. I mean, yet again, I wouldn't do this to somebody who's particularly old. It's probably going to be pretty hard on their ribs. But you'll feel a nice spring to a young rib cage. I'm 42. My rib cage still has some spring into it. So you'll feel the ribs move a little bit. Okay? And so, like, if you think of, if you're holding a balloon, you're squeezing that balloon from 2 sides with your hands. What's a balloon do? It goes up and it goes down. You kind of squishes it, right? Well, the balloon, which is their lungs, it certainly can't go down anymore because there's a mat there. So it wants to go up a little bit. And so just kind of don't let it go up either. So my arms across that, I'm pushing on that. So as I add some squeezing pressure with one side of my ribs, with my other side on the elbow, and then some downward pressure with kind of I don't know how you describe that, but with my body, it feels like you weigh 1,000,000 pounds. Like, there's no other way to say this. If you do this correctly, can't breathe. Like, it's very frustrating. It's very tough to work with. It's a lot of pressure. I remember the first time I had this done to me, Renato Tavares. He's not a heavy person. Probably 145 pounds. I was probably 160, 165. So not a big guy. But this guy was considerably smaller than me. I could not breathe. I could not figure out what the heck was happening. He felt heavier than the heaviest person I'd grappled with. He was crushing me. Pressure on the rib cage. And that's kind of a controlled pressure as well, as you squeeze from both sides and you press onto the top. You have to move out of that position. Arms are going to come up. They're going to get freed up. Their neck's going to get exposed. You're going to create some great openings. If you do this, you could absolutely tap somebody from this pressure. No problem. I think that's kind of a jerk move. I like to get clean submissions. I could do a whole podcast on whether this should be a submission or not. I've had lots of debates with my teammates about it, but I used to tap people with this all the time. And I kind of decided that I wanted to do submissions I could tap anybody with. Not that I would, but would the best grapplers in the world, if I locked up a rear naked choke and they didn't defend it, would they tap? Yes. If I locked up this pressure to one of the top grapplers in the world, would they tap to this? No. It's just, it gets people to move. Try it out. I don't know if there's any good videos on this. Like I said, I didn't really do any. Just have it written down here, ribcage pressure. So thought I'd share that with you guys. Hope you have a great day today. Avoid some of that pressure. So the opposite of the pressure is to build a frame and get that pressure off your ribs. You got to do that if that's happening to you. Stay sweaty, my friends.